Hello, welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. If you do like the programming you see here and the musicians and artists that I visit with, please be sure and hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel. David Montague is an English writer, composer, and screenwriter. David, along with Guy Mascalo, were the principal songwriters for the psychedelic rock band, the 5-Day Week Straw People, who recorded a self-titled album in 1968. The album is listed in David Wells' book, Record Collector: 100 Greatest Psychedelic Records. By the way, Guy Mascalo is this very same guy of the world-famous Toni and Guy salons. Incidentally, the very first U.S. salon was opened in Dallas, Texas. After the 5-Day Week Straw People, David would continue to write songs. In the early 90s, he reopened the Rainbow Theatre in London. The venue made famous hosting acts like the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, and David Bowie during the 60s and 70s. Over his career, Mr. Montague has written a musical, Loneliness Never Lasts in the Movies, published 2 books, To Excess and Back, and A Song for Maria, and in a full circle moment, edited the book, The Birth of Toni and Guy, the biography of the world-renowned hairdressers. Well, welcome, David. Thank you for being here and taking time.
Well, thank you, sir, for inviting me to be there. It's a privilege to speak with you.
Okay, well, I feel the same way. I feel the same way. It's mutual. Well, take us back. Where were you born?
I was born in London,
Okay.
and a part of London is Clapham, which was about 4 miles from the West End.
Okay, okay. Do you recall your early childhood growing up? Was there music in the household?
No, there wasn't. There was, my father was ex-military. He spent no, I think it was about 9 years, laying on beaches here and there. And he was a different type of person. He would, when I really wanted to, turn professional, he was a person that would say, well, in fact, what he said to me, "You're not bloody sitting at home, blink, blink, plonk, plonk all day." He said, "You go and get a job," So the music was, it was a battle to start with.
Okay. Yeah, you hear that. Some of the musicians I talked to, they said their parents were very encouraging, supportive. And then you hear the others that are like, get a real job, that kind of thing. Right, right.
Yeah.
So you have to understand where the generation they came from too, so.
Yeah, I mean, it was what it was, It was not what it was, I don't know, 15 years or whatever after the war, but, or a bit longer than that, 17 or something like that. But the mentality of our parents was very much fixed. And so and my father was a little bit, what can I say? You didn't discuss too much. He was a great guy, a great father, but you didn't sit at breakfast arguing.
Yes. My father was in the next war, the Korean War.
Oh wow.
He was in the Marines in that. So so yeah, we both have military fathers. Right. I can relate. Well,
stand up straight and put that shirt right.
Right. Well, do you recall one of the first singles or albums that you got yourself, that you got?
It was I bought it for the B-side, I Got Stung, which was an Elvis Presley song. I can't even tell you what the song was, but I remember distinctly buying that. Buddy Holly featured quite heavily, with sort of late 50s, this and the, which was, I mean, a tremendous artist. What can you say? God bless him. And so, but then the first thing I really got into, because we weren't flush with money. It wasn't a question that, oh, let's go out and buy this, let's go out and buy that. It was a question of listen to the radio, try and pick up the root notes and work the tune out.
Right.
One of those things.
You mentioned Buddy Holly. Are you familiar with the Texas Embassy in London? Do you know where it's a restaurant now, but it was called the Texas Embassy, They, I didn't know this. I just talked to a guy, musician, and he educated me on this. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
being from Texas, we weren't taught this. But but Texas being, joining the Union, from 1842 to 1845, there was a legation in London for 3, 4 years there, that period of time. And there's actually a plaque on the wall there. It's turned into a restaurant, but it's a look it up, Texas Embassy. And I'm like, wow, I'm learning something about Texas history from a UK musician that I wasn't aware of. But he had recorded a song, a Buddy Holly song. Paul McCartney was a Buddy Holly fan,
Yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah.
and he invited
People
him.
or the publishing.
Right. And he
Yeah,
invited this guy to play at the Texas Embassy. So I
yeah.
was like, wow, so what the things you learn. That's another reason I like doing these. I learned so much. Was the guitar like one of the first instruments you learned to play?
The first thing that
Mhm.
well, I suppose, yes, it is really, because I suppose I had one when I was about 7 or 8. And I wasn't really aware of that you had to put your fingers anywhere particular, but but that
Yeah.
was my starting point. And then I played very briefly a flute,
Okay. Oh, okay.
and then I got back to the guitar, I think, when I was about 11.
Oh,
And from then on, it's been like an obsession.
right, right. Yeah. Once you're hooked. Yeah. You're right.
Listen,
You're
my
right.
friend, music and guitars is a life sentence. If you,
It is. It is. So
yeah,
many doing these tell me that. It
yeah.
is, it's for life. And once that music's in you too, it's got to come out. Were you going to any live gigs or concerts?
Oh yeah, I went to everyone. We in the small theatres at that time. We used to call them strip shows. They weren't strip shows, but
Yeah.
you had like one artist after another.
Oh, okay.
You had about a dozen artists. You go to one of these. So you can't call it concerts like we refer to them, but they were shows where the popular acts would come on and do 3 numbers, and then the next popular act would come and do 3 numbers. And they were just selling records, because that was the idea. So the first one I went to, I think that may have been, it was either Joe Brown or the Tornadoes. You remember Still
Oh,
Star? It
yes, I do. Yes, I
was
do.
either that
Yeah.
or Joe Brown. He was a little or a great guitar. I don't know if you've ever heard of Joe
His
Brown.
his backing band was the Brothers.
Yeah, you've got it, man.
Yeah.
You're there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, the funny thing is that was one of the first
Uh-huh.
times I went. And the funny thing, a little story, a little aside here. When I was about 14, okay, I waited outside the theatre to get his
Yes.
autograph.
Yeah.
When I was 19, I was sitting in his dressing room teaching him a song.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
So
is that right?
there's a time thing, isn't
Yeah.
it?
That's kind of a full circle thing there too.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so that was that.
Yeah.
Obviously saw the Beatles, went to watch the Beatles,
Okay.
and that was an experience. And what I would relay about that is that they were the tightest band I'd ever watched. I mean,
Oh,
they were on the, right on it, and a lot of people. I mean, they'd done their apprenticeship. They'd done it
yeah.
working very, very hard, and that impressed me. And it impressed me how, numbers like "We Can Work It Out" as it changed, and oh, what are they doing? Because normally you get most of the rock bands 4/4, and that was it.
Yes. Yes.
They had a musical drummer, and
Yes.
they had great writers, great instrumentalists.
Yes.
Really underrated even today how good they were.
Right. And they branched out more than just the 3 chords. You know. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
What's he doing now? What's he doing now?
I thought so. I was speaking of Joe Brown. He's still around. He's 84 years old.
Absolutely. He's
Wow.
not. He's not doing. He lives out in Henley. He's not doing. I think
So,
once a year now he gets together with about 100 of his friends and biggest fans, and does a show. A friend of mine, Pete D, my first, so to speak, manager.
Okay.
Useless manager, but a wonderful man, you know. but he was a great, and he would say that. It's not, I'm not talking behind it. He would say that.
Okay.
And, but he ended up growing fuchsias, and he won 8 gold medals at Chelsea. You know, he was a successful guy, and but he still kept in touch with him, and he was on his like Christmas card list and everything.
Yeah.
So that means something, doesn't it?
Wow, it is. Yeah, Joe, from that early scene, he's one of the few.
Sorry, sir?
I said from that early 60s scene, he's one of the few that's still around.
He was great, and he used to do this trick, you know, playing
behind his did he?
So this little stick insect had to do the same, you know. So
right.
one time I leapt off stage with it behind my head,
Uh-huh.
But unfortunately the lead wasn't quite as long as my leap.
No. Oh no, is that right? Oh no, I can imagine.
It was fun. It was fun. Everyone enjoyed it except the other people in the band. You know?
Right. Right. Oh man. Well, yeah. I hear those kind of humorous stories. At the time, it's not funny, but looking back on it, it's funny.
You got to take it for what it was. You know?
Right. Well, yeah. How young did you start writing songs? How young were you?
I was about, I would say, I remember the first song I actually wrote in full, and I actually featured it in the musical. It was a song that I wrote for a girl that I fancied around the corner, you know, and it was the explanation. I was a fairly shy kid, apart from when I got on stage, you know. Yeah, and it was a song for her called "As My Love Is For You."
Oh, that's nice. I like that title. I like
that.
Yeah. Did you ever record that with anybody?
Yes, I did, sir. I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I feel myself wasted away thinking of you and something to say when we meet. And you know, and he goes on saying, "Because I was a bit shy, and you know, girls were something. What can you say? They were something magical." And I always put them on plinths until a few of them found that their foot was the same height as my throat. You know. So, but you know, they were. Yeah, I had this crush on this girl when I wrote the song for her.
Yeah. I find a lot of musicians are basically shy, you know, and it was kind of a way for them to express themselves.
Yeah.
You know, through the music.
Well, the thing is, when you get on stage, you can adopt a different persona. And the worst thing that is the case is playing with a group of your friends.
Yeah.
Because that is the hardest thing. If you're playing to 100 or 1,000 or presumably 100,000, you are what they think you are.
Right. Very true.
They're not seeing the kid that came home from school with a nosebleed. You know, they're not seeing that. they're seeing you know, what they believe. Right.
Very true. I like that. The difference there. Well, were you in a band prior to the 5-day week Straw People?
Well, yes, I was. It was a little. I was in a few bands before that.
Okay.
And the first band I was in, I started this band when I was 12, which was when I first met Guy.
Oh, at that age, okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah. What happened? He didn't have a store or anything. He was a youngster. I don't know, about 15 or something, and he was a junior stylist at a hairdresser around the corner called Paulette. Okay. Ooh. And my mother used to go there, and she said to me, "Oh, I met a young chap, very nice chap around the corner, and he's interested in music, and he would like to meet you, see if he could join you." Okay. Now he came to, and I say this with more respect than you can believe, he came to a rehearsal. Now, it was quite difficult because he didn't speak very much English and didn't really know the words of the song, so it was improvising as we went along, which isn't really good enough if you're going to go out and perform. You've got that. And so when when he at the end of the day, I'm thinking, oh well, and he explained to me, I can play, you know, and he invited me to his home, which was basically an apartment, what I don't know what you call it. The part of the apartment is in the basement. You know, I don't know what you call that in America. You know,
Okay.
It was a sub-level.
Okay. Okay.
And I expect it's been done up now, but they were renting this place, and he sat in the garden. I got his guitar up there. I sat in the garden. He played classical guitar, and it melted me. You could see the man's soul. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes.
That was it. You know, I spent the next 40, 50 years trying to play what he played, and he spent a lot of time trying to play what I played. So, but the music was the bonding thing, apart from we had good chemistry.
Okay. Well, not to go too much into the history of Tony and Guy, but how soon had they immigrated to London when you met?
They arrived in London in 1957.
Okay.
And firstly they lived in a place called Islington, which is North London, and then they moved. In fact, if you can read it on my website, because I ghosted the book for them, the Birth of Toni and Guy. Okay, and what happened is that the father won a competition in Italy. They were looking for what they called the best hairdresser in Italy. Okay, and this, you've got to appreciate, this was, you know, what was that be, 10 years after the war or something like this, and he won a visit to London to work with a chap in Knightsbridge.
Okay.
And after that, the family was there still, but then he brought them across eventually, and then they realised that the lights and glamour of the West End was not where they're going to be living. You know, yeah. So it was a very, very tough time. So they were, when I met them, the mother and father. The father didn't. He spoke a few words in English. The mother didn't speak any at all. You know, Maria, beautiful, wonderful. You felt the love. You know, just one of those people. Yes. And the father, because I was, you know, I'm not particularly overbuilt now, am I? But he used to say to me, "Eat, eat, eat." You know,
yeah.
And I couldn't believe it the first time I ate with them, because I'd always been like, you sit with your arms like this, and you eat your little bits like this, and it was like olives are doing it.
Right.
What the hell is going on? I was trying to take anything, you know. They were putting it on my plate, you know. So you cannot believe the beauty in their souls, you know.
Right.
Really.
I imagine she was his mother was a pretty good cook too.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can say but praise, you know. So, you know, my recollections of the parents are extremely personal, you know, rather than professional. The mother was apparently an excellent colorist and things like this, but all I ever met was her in the home, and that was it. And unfortunately, they lost her very early, you know, and that was a whole change of circumstance.
Right. Well, did you want to talk a little bit more about the bands you were in
yes.
earlier? Okay.
Do I digress too much?
No. I took you on that segue. You know, talking about the parents, and so I kind of led you down the.
Okay, well, listen, you can always edit it down to 5 minutes, all this.
Right.
So, yeah, the bands I was in, I started a band when I was about 12. I said that. By the time I was, first gig I did at 13, I was out there doing a gig. We weren't doing bad, playing, I don't know if you know Shadow's music and stuff like that.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes,
playing all those things, all the instrumentals. And of course I was, unfortunately, the guy that played all of the instruments, you know. And we did that for a few years. Then we had, because we used to rehearse at a, what do you call it, what we call a youth club. I don't know what you would call it for youngsters going along.
Oh yeah, YMCA. We have YMCA.
So
Yeah.
we were playing there, and they had we were introduced. They said we've got a guitar teacher coming along, to help all the people that want to learn guitar.
Okay.
Anyway, he came along. He was 10 years older than me, and he joined my band. And pretty soon afterward, he wanted to do, he was doing all the almost wartime stuff. It's really, I want playing that. I want to be playing Beatles. I want to be doing this.
Yeah.
So that was my first band. Second band was more of a soul band, funnily enough.
Okay.
And it was quite a departure for me, And then we had a third band, which was, again, I think I was just getting the fidgets, and it was only when I was sort of thinking, what the hell should I do? That a guy and I were chatting and playing, and and I started writing songs. And he said, well, what have you got? And I sat down and played some songs. And in fact, the first one that I wrote for that album, 5 Day Weeks for People, it starts off after work on a Friday night with the darkness falling around.
Yeah, yes.
The streets are coloured up. Well, I can't remember it at the moment. But anyway, I started doing it. And what I was doing, I was working in a place called Sweden, building calculating machines, this sort of.
Really?
In central London, late every morning,
Yeah.
I kept a bit of rock and roll into my life. And I remember looking out the window this night, and it was just, all you had was the drizzle and the street lamps, and that's how I started writing that song. So I ended up actually penning the album, and that's how it happened.
Okay. Well, take us up, get us up to speed. Who came up with the name, the 5 Day Week Straw People?
Well, I don't want to take too much credit, but if you want the truth, what I saw was people that were going down the subway, and you knew they had no interest in what they'd done in the previous 5 days. They wanted to get home, have their gin and tonic, and put their feet up. Okay, that was the deal. And I just saw them as people that were 5 days of the week. It's almost like the shell rather than the real person, the real character, the real ambition, the real passion, wasn't there. It was just the routine. So that was basically how I arrived at that.
And unfortunately, that's carried on today too. There's so many people that just go through the motions, like you said, for a paycheck, to make ends meet. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is the trap that you get into. Most people, quite naturally, they get married. This happens, that, and before you know it, making yourself cozy, you're in debt for 25 years.
Yeah, that's right.
It's very, very difficult, and I, we've all experienced, and it's very difficult for people to pursue what is probably their greatest talent when they're trapped with an economic restraint.
Right. It is. Well, so how did you and Guy start writing songs? Right? How would you typically write together, compose the songs?
Well, what happened is when we started chatting, and we built a little studio down there because we both had the passion for music. He had his way of doing it, I had my way. Obviously, by virtue of English being my first language, I was easy. I've always found words kind of mix, work somehow. I don't know who invented them, but so I've always found the writing aspect in terms of the words on the page. And then we just sat down and worked out how we wanted the melodies to go, basically.
Yeah.
Very, very simplistic. If you listen to it, it's actually quite simplistic. What is interesting is that it was of its time. And that's what made it interesting. You know, if you did it today, people would just say, "What a load of rubbish," and and they might be right today. Who knows?
No,
But
you're right. It was of its time. You're right.
yeah, it was of its time, and
Yeah,
that's it. You know.
yeah. And I ask a lot of musicians, I'll say, like, would you ever go back, and redo or rewrite the
Yeah,
songs that you did then? Most of them say no, because it was of its time. I leave it alone,
yeah,
that it came out at that time. I wouldn't change anything,
yeah.
you know.
The only one I've ever thought of reworking is the last
Uh,
one called "Dust Is in My Eyes." I don't know if you've listened to it. Oh, you probably have.
oh, okay. Yes, yes, I have. Yes, I have. Yes, I
Yeah,
have.
and it's
Okay. You might
Mother
tweak.
Years still haven't done it. You know, that sort of thing. And,
Might tweak. Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
so it's kind of, that one I have thought of reworking because, maybe I shouldn't because it's like you're on the way out, isn't it? But anyway, I wrote that one as about 20 years ago.
well, how do you recall how were you signed to Saga?
Oh, it was rubbish company.
Okay.
God bless.
Okay.
I shouldn't have said that online, but
Okay.
it was a budget company, and no one really regarded it as a record label of any significance. What happened is that Guy played some demos that we'd done in the basement, in our little studio. We had a little TAC machine, and,
Yes.
and recorded these. And next thing we knew, we got a call, would we come in and do an album? So we're thinking, oh, well, that's interesting, And so we went along, and we didn't have a band. It was me and Guy, So we
Right.
went along, and we agreed that we would do something. And all we had was a couple of friends across the way. Well, they were Guy's friends more than myself, And one of them, Mike, my head working. Mike Hawksworth was a lovely, lovely, lovely character. I mean, a real gentle giant. Played bass, and he said, "Yeah, I'd love to help." And then he said, "I got a flatmate, someone who shared an apartment with him, another guitarist, John Ducan." And do you want? And I'll ask him if you want. Who later bootlegged every bloody thing that we did, but God bless him. It was at the time, it was what it was, and I've got that legally. I have the right to say that because he had to sign a confession. Okay. So, are you with me? All
Yes.
the stuff, all the stuff that went out on Angel Hair.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Claimed to be him. He claimed one time to have recorded it in New York. He claimed one time to record it here. And unfortunately, that was a big upset to us because Guy was the sort of person that if you said to him, "I'm in real trouble, I need a few thousand," he would have just given it to him.
Right.
Okay. But that is the shame is when people do things like that to you.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Anyway, we went to the show. They had a week or two record, working between them and this sort of thing. And then we pulled in Jack McCulloch or John McCulloch. He goes under two names, and he was the brother of Jimmy.
Jimmy, yes, they played with the Wings. Yeah.
So, and he was a great laugh, great drummer, and full marks praise to him. It was you can't knock it. And we started recording it. It was just in the basement of Marcel Rod's house in Swiss Cottage, if you know Swiss Cottage, and which is an expensive part of northeast London, sort of thing, where none of us can afford to live.
Yeah.
Anyway, we did this recording there, and it was a bit of everyone did what they could sort of thing, and it was a bit of a dog's dinner in a way, but thankfully it turned out okay, and Saga put it out. Then they called us back, so obviously making lots of money out of us. They called us back, will we do another album for them?
Okay.
And we were already getting offers here, there, and everywhere, and we started doing things with EMI.
Okay.
which was a reasonable big
Oh,
company.
yeah. Oh, that's a big company. Yeah, bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, we were moving on.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then what happened? Correct me if I'm going ahead of things.
Oh,
Or you,
oh, let me go back about the
yeah,
album.
yeah,
I had a couple more questions. Who
yeah.
who designed the cover, the album cover?
Yeah, that was Guy and I, because they wanted to take us down into scrapyard and rip off the Beatles, please please me, or whatever it was. You remember
Okay.
they did this thing standing around this bro. Oh, we could do this. We didn't want that. We wanted to be more mysterious.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so we decided that we would rather construct a sort of an artist impression rather than and I have to say, we worked through an artist in Saga as well. It
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
just us sitting down with a paintbrush. And so we came up with this cover that we were happy with. We just wanted Guy and David on it and to be kind of like the writers, producers, kind of a little bit, if you put it in terms of how things have moved on, it may have been more appropriate to have that identity 10 years later.
Right.
When you had all the producers doing things rather than the artists doing
In
things.
the artist, yes,
You
yes.
know, I mean,
Yeah.
I worked with one producer, just to digress a little bit.
Oh, that's
I,
all right.
I worked with one producer who was a unbelievable keyboard player. And I went in with a rock band and it came out like soft cell. It was appalling.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I
It
can
was all keys and.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yeah.
so a producer can have a huge effect
Yeah.
on the.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And on that occasion, when we did the album, it was just a Guy and myself. No, and it was easy because no tensions, no egos. It's just get on with the job.
Right. Right. Well, I like the cover. It's got a psychedelic feel to it. So
Well, it has because it's what we were all feeling. It was all
right.
the Clapton stuff. It was all this sort of thing going
Yes.
on.
Yes.
The Hendrix and this, that, and the other.
Right. Right.
So well, it was
It,
pre-Hendrix by 10 years, but it was
yes. Yeah.
it was that sort of element.
Yes.
There was that sort of adventurous moving ahead with music, pushing the
Right.
boundaries and all that sort of.
Right. Well, you mentioned Eric Clapton.
Sorry.
I said you mentioned Eric
Yeah.
Clapton. The tracks that I'm partial to, Gold Digger,
Yeah.
that one sounds a lot like Cream to me. That song.
Well, Gold Digger is an old song. There's gold in the mountains, gold in the valleys, gold in the
Yeah.
sea.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a copy of that, really.
Yes. Okay.
So it
I
is
thought it sounded familiar. I thought that sounded familiar.
well,
Okay.
you know that song. There's gold.
Yeah. Now it's coming back to me.
Gold in
Yeah.
the valleys,
Yeah.
gold in the rivers, and gold in the sea. And that's what it is. If you listen
Yeah.
to it, that's what the tune
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. But it's got a Cream feel. The arrangement, the way you guys did it. Yeah. And then a second track I like, Postman. I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope the postman brings a letter to me. Yeah.
Yes. 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 And that reminds me of the old, what was it? Please, Mr. Postman. Please, Mr. Postman. Yeah. Who was the group that did that?
There's a letter in the bag for me.
Yes. 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 But I think my favorite on the album is Sunday Morning.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's a real psychedelic going.
Yes, it is. The guitar effects on that one and the vocals.
Yeah, that works.
Yes, it does.
In fact,
It
the
does.
amount of times that's been used, we had and I know it's unpopular these days, certainly in Europe it is, but we had a Russian company, and now I'm going back, I don't know how many years, when we still had nice relations in the world.
Yeah. Yes.
They came through to us, can we use this in a film? Okay.
Okay.
And they made an offer to us of it was a fair bit of money. And I said, look, the problem is you can't get royalties out of Russia. I mean, it's like Russia and China, you just give it away. So they doubled the money straight away, and it went into a film called I Am. It was about our war in the Balkans. And so that went into a Russian movie. I got vid copies, CD copies, but it's I don't understand the language. You know,
Yeah,
I might do in 30 years if they come out.
lost in translation, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what was the public and critics' initial reaction to the album when it came out?
I can only talk about the public in so much as when I played it to my family, and they thought it was a dreadful load of rubbish. Okay.
Okay.
But from most other people of our own age, we got a good reaction.
Yeah.
I can't remember actually. It's interesting you should say that. Ask that question because I can't remember ever seeing anyone give a critique on it.
Okay. All
They
right.
might have thought it's worthwhile. There's a lot of good people about.
Well, there's a website called Rate Your Music. It's called RYM for Rate Your Music. Check that out after we're done, and then look. And then,
Can I just make a note of this?
Sure. You could just do it under the initials RYM, and then
RY.
Yeah, like rate your music.
Oh, right.
Rate your music, and it's a website where people will just post an album, and then you get all of these ratings, and you get people commenting on it, and it got some good ratings on that. You can read it, people commenting on on the album, so might be something of interest to you. Well, and you did talk about there was interest in recording a follow-up. But it didn't come to be.
But it didn't happen because we really didn't want it to happen.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we did what we did, and I explained to a guy called Fred Marshall, who's a very nice guy. No, he invited us to his home. Let's do this, let's do it. They were kind of keen days, and but I explained what I wanted to do with the second album because I don't believe you just stand on the spot and you want to move on and do things. And they didn't get the concept, and so it was what it was. And as I say, we were working. So funny enough, when we started doing stuff with Ardmore Beechwood, which was EMI, one of the first songs I recorded for them was "As My Love Is For You," which was the first song that I'd ever written.
Yes, right.
That's a full circle.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Yes. Well, I'm glad you got to have that one published.
Sorry, sir.
I said I'm glad you got to have that one finally come out and be published.
Yeah.
That was.
It's actually in the musical as well.
Okay. Well, decades later, Cherry Red re-released the album on CD. In 2007, I believe.
In fact, I don't have a copy to hand, but in fact. On the back of on the two bonus tracks, I think one of them is "As My Love Is For You."
Yes, it is. It is included as a bonus track. As my love is for you. Do you know the other bonus? Do you know the other bonus?
The other one is Father Martin.
Yes.
That's the song that I was teaching to Joe Brown.
Oh, that's the one. Okay.
I put those on for my own kind of,
Yeah. Okay. Wow. All right. How did Joe like Father Brown?
He liked it. What had happened though on that day? Someone had dropped the safety curtain on his J45, which it wasn't a great day, but he liked it and he never recorded it. Let's make that clear. Never recorded it. But it was a song that I wrote at the time. It's a little bit controversial, and I wouldn't write it now. But when you listen to it, you will understand why.
Understand why? Okay.
Because it seems a little bit irreverent.
Okay.
But it's how I felt at the time. But I'm not in that camp anymore.
Yeah. Irreverent to a reverend, right? Irreverent for a reverend. However that
you got it. Yeah.
Well, fast forwarding a little bit, what was Supernova?
Supernova was an album that we did. Strangely enough, we recorded it in I think it's 1979, and we released it on the Oh no, when was it? Something like it wasn't something. Yeah, it might have been. And we released it anyway on a significant date. Okay, the 1st of January or something like that. And what it was an album about basically all the rock stars that had gone before. Okay. And although the Oasis coined the phrase, and one lives in an apartment called Supernova House and all this BS, you know, but what it was to demonstrate a supernova is a star that shines very brightly, but then it's the end of it. And it was about the artists who we all admire these days, who they're not here anymore. They should have been here.
Right. Their stars burn bright. Yeah, for a little bit. Yeah.
Too bright for a short time.
Yes.
It was about that. And it was a mixture of songs dependent. We used several artists to do this thing. And in fact, there's an interesting story. We brought one band in, and the lead singer, and I'd never done you probably think this is so un-rock and roll. You know, I've never done drugs in my life, never. Okay. You don't have to confess anything. Your business is your business. But I just find that most of these elements, although you think you're doing better, is not necessarily helpful. Okay, and we brought one band in. The lead singer, he couldn't work at all because he was completely out of it. His throat had gone. His almost complete senses had gone, and he thought he was living life, rock star lifestyle at someone else's expense, because we were paying for the studio. You know, everything was down to Guy and myself. Yeah. So that was very unhelpful. So it's a mixture of performances, but it was basically as I say, one song each for each artist in the style of. So we used different musicians. It wasn't a hands-on, I'm there playing anything. We used different musicians to get the effect that we wanted. And I have to say, after a lot of work, it was a complete failure.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, notice there wasn't a follow-up. And there wasn't.
It was an idea that didn't really. In fact, a guy called David Betteridge, who was the MD of Arista at the moment, at that time, called me and said, just use it as a demo. Don't put it out. Just use it as a demo and see if we can, And his advice was the right advice. But we were so on the cusp because we had advertising fixed and, full pages in the Melody Maker and all this, Basically, it was lack of experience. And I've since learned that whoever does it best, if you want advertising, get someone that knows about advertising. If you want a guitarist that plays like Hendrix, get a guitarist that plays like Hendrix.
Talk to us about Toni and Guy. You worked on the music for the first show, right?
Yeah, what I did, in fact, the first show that we ever did was in a church hall in Mitcham, South London, about 5 miles from where I lived. And we just did it to a group of girls that came along, and they did a show. I was both the compere, and I was all I was using was an old Vox AC30.
Oh,
okay. So we didn't have equipment, it was, they had talent in their fingers, but we didn't have a lot of equipment. I used my amplifier, a microphone, so I was both the interviewer, going up to them and saying, what are you doing now, Guy? What are you doing now, Bruno? This sort of thing. I was doing that. So that was fairly, it was kids starting up, okay?
Yeah.
And then the next stuff I started doing when they got a bit more presence, I did places like the Cafe Royal and the London places. I don't know if you've heard of places like that. And the last one that I ever did for them, because they were getting that much bigger, I was doing my thing, was the Wembley Arena.
Oh, okay.
Not the stadium, not the big stadium. The arena's about 20,000 seats, something like that. Oh no, I did put a band on at the Royal Albert Hall for a young band to open one of the shows. But that was the last thing I did. That was just before Guy died, unfortunately. So after that, it's a lot of things changed. It was tough time.
Right. Well, talk about opening here in the U.S. You traveled with them to
Sorry,
Dallas. I said,
yeah.
talk about opening in Dallas here. You traveled with them over here.
Well, what happened? Guy said to me, I'm moving to the States soon to help my brother, because Bruno had gone across there and married a girl from Dallas, and so what happened? Everyone, wherever your wife says you're going to live, that's where you live.
Yeah.
Whatever washing machine you want, your wife will choose it. Whatever car you should be getting that's practical, your wife will choose it. Whatever house you should have, no. So we know the deal. So anyway, I'm not referring that to him. I was a generalization. He, just in case he's listening, sues me. But he. Bruno had opened a store in was it North Mall?
North Park.
Yeah, North Park. That's it.
Yes,
North Park.
yes.
He had opened I think it was there, and then they opened another one, I think, in the Galleria.
Okay.
And then another one. I can't remember what it's called. I remember watching all the women. But it had nice fountainy things and a place where you could sit and get spiritually healed to tinkly bells or something. So anyway, I actually love being there. When I was there, I used to go up in the Galleria, because you had like the little levels.
Yes.
Sit there, the skaters would be down below.
Yes.
The Christmas tree go way past you. It's like so cool. I loved it. It was. I got a lot of love for America. I wish I'd been born in America, but don't broadcast that in England.
We won't. I would trade places with you. I think I should have been born in England.
Would you?
Yeah, because I'm an Anglophile as far as music goes. I have more English music than any other. I've just always loved the UK's take on the melody. You guys have such a sense of melody that I think is lacking with a lot of American music. Yes. And you would take your influences like the R&B and the soul, that kind of thing, but then you would turn it into something special. You would take those influences, but then you would add ingredients of what I consider harmony and melody into the songs, and then make it something special. So,
well, for me, music is all about melody.
Yes, it is.
Anything that doesn't have some sort of reoccurring melody, I find it difficult to classify as music.
Right.
I'm not a great lover of shredders.
No.
Because it's a bit like if you've listened to a piece of Bach. Well, why play one note when 16 will do just as well? Like crazy.
Yes.
We don't want to know how clever you were. We want to know how good the music is.
Yes.
So I'm all for melody and everything that I play. Because I play most of the Beatles stuff, obviously, but as an amusement to myself, and if I'm playing with other people, that's
right.
For the most part,
that has to grab me. If it doesn't have the music, if it doesn't have melody, it doesn't grab me. It doesn't grab me.
How is it music if it doesn't have melody?
Right. Well, you said you were here in Dallas for a couple of years. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't in one go. Let me emphasize, because I got stopped at the airport one time, taken into a little room by these big guys with big guns, and they said, how long you been? I think they didn't. When you came into America, they put a little piece of paper on your thing, and they're supposed to take it out when you leave.
Yeah.
The person that had just let me go and get on the plane hadn't taken it out.
Didn't take it.
So they said to me, how long you been? I said I've just arrived from London, on a flight, and they thought that I hadn't left the country. I don't quite know how that would have worked, but anyway.
Right. Yeah, I don't either.
No,
I
but
don't either. I don't get that. Yeah, I
no,
don't.
it's just my experience at the time. And then they called Guy, who, so I said, he's down in reception waiting for me. They say to him, when did you last see David? He said, about 3 months ago. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, he said, I was in Europe. It's kind of like, but anyway, after about an hour of physically my glucose level dropping to almost zero, I'm just about to fall on the floor, and that's the high or low. High glucose levels means you're going to stay conscious. Low means you could pass out. That was the reference. Nothing to do with the things you take in private. All right. So it was it was what it was. But anyway, what was I saying? So what I used to do, I would be there for about 3 months at a time, which was my maximum stay, and then I would come back. Although the first time I had a 10-year visa pass.
Yeah.
So
Visa,
10 years I could just come in and out. It was it's what it was. I love my experience. As I say, I've still got friends in Rockwall who I emailed probably a couple of days ago. What's it called? Windy something or other. Their address, and one is an automobile man, Ferraris and all that sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
The other one is retired, and just the hospitality and what I heard from the other day. If you're ever thinking of coming across, come and stay with us. You got the shores, just beautiful people. Yeah. So I got a lot of love and affection for America.
Okay, well that's nice. Yeah. I don't think with after 9/11, the airport security and all that kind of stuff just got so tight, and it's not like traveling back when you're talking. Yeah, when you were doing.
Yeah, it got hard.
Yeah.
I accept that, but it was.
Anyway, that's another story. Well, the Rainbow. Talk about how you were involved in reopening the Rainbow Theater for
what happened? It was very strange. I was managing, so to speak, almost informally. My girl, what was her name? Full name, Lynette. It's terrible. I can't remember her full name now. But she was a BV on Cliff Richard. You ever heard of Cliff Richard?
Yes.
He was doing BVs on his, you know what that is anyway. Backing track.
Yes.
You're a musician, aren't you?
No, I'm not. No. I never.
BVs means. Anyway.
You mentioned the Shadows earlier. They were Cliff's backing band, the Shadows.
Yes. Yeah. But when the funny thing is, and I go back further, Guy and I used to walk into the West End. I mean, we lived about 4 miles outside, but you would go in there on a Wednesday afternoon, which is his half day, before he had a shop or anything, and go to the guitar stores. Okay. And he knew I was just mental on the Shadows, and when we were walking up a place called Charing Cross Road, which were a lot of the stores in there.
Yes, I've heard of that. Yes.
And I said, "Oh, this Jet Harris, he was the bass player."
Yes.
Just going into a pub. Oh, he's old enough to go in a pub, And the guy was that much older, a bit more mature than me, I have to say. And he said, "Well, what would you do if you saw Hank Marvin?" He was the lead guitarist.
Oh, Hank Marvin, yeah.
Oh, so the mouth on the stick starts off, and he walked out of a bloody shop in front of me, and I just stood and shake. Just it was a shame. It was a shame. But, I mean, I was just crazy on the, every number they were doing, I was playing the next day type of thing. It was just passion.
The Rainbow Theater was reopened for the Bowie press
Well,
release.
I'm sorry that I'm a pain. I do digress, and I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
What happened was that I was doing a thing for Nanette Wellmans, who's just come back to me now. She was his BV singer, Cliff Richards, okay? And she used to go to a church there at the Rainbow. It was before the building was just almost derelict, but it was, like that. And she used to say, "Oh, we need people to get us out of trouble. We got this, we got that." Okay, so I come along and see what I can do. And during that time, we arranged a few things to happen, to try and bring some money in. And thankfully, Bowie wanted to use the place to launch his Sound of Vision thing, because it was where he started off on the, on the Ziggy Stardust thing.
Yeah.
So when they what they built, nothing to do with me, but what the set designers built was a whole street. You remember where he's standing on a box and this sort of thing?
Yes.
They rebuilt that whole street, and they rebuilt a plaster cast of him about, I don't know, it's about 15 feet high, on over the fountain in front of the house. So I spent a few days with him. He was born in Brixton, I was born in Clapham. That's like saying I was born in Frankfurt and he was in the Galleria. It's like quite close. And so, but we never met one another.
Really?
Then we both lived in a place called Bromley, and we were in the next road to one another. We never met one another. It's so weird. And he used to do his early sort of stuff, in a place called the Three Tons, which was a pub, which I used occasionally. Never met him. Yeah. And we hooked up at the Rainbow and started reminiscing. I tell you what, it was worse than this conversation. Because we've played all the same pubs, we've done this and we've done that. And he actually said to me, God bless him, when he said, "What's happening now? What are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm trying to bring the banks in on trying to get this back really working, because I had all the plans. I had architecture drawings, I had everything, spent time and money on this gig." And he said, "Have you got enough money?" In other words, he was saying, more or less saying, "Do you want me to, throw my hat in the ring, And I said, "Well, I'm speaking with the banks at the moment." To be honest, even with Guy, I don't like talking about money, because, I'm not there for money. I'm there for other people, right. And I total respect for Bowie. I mean, what I liked about him is he was never obsessed with himself. He never thought, "Oh, you're talking with David Bowie." He was a person that was, "How can we make this work? What do you think it needs?" I just love that kind of freedom that he had. I love that. So a lot of respect. And again, New York doesn't seem to be a good place to move to, was it? When you're, I went there a little while ago, but I was on the mainstream of things, the Broadway and all this. Bloody hell! I ate well in Dallas. I didn't eat well in New York.
Okay.
One time I had to go across to Brooklyn, and we got in a cab, and I said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Oh, we need to go across to Brooklyn." "Well, get out of my cab. Get out of my cab." I said, "What?" He said, "We don't cross the river."
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
No, have a nice day, anything.
Right. That's the tradition with New Yorkers. Yes.
Wow.
I mean, that's the reputation. That's reputation. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. But you know what, Dallas, I found every single person. I never had a bad experience in or around Dallas. First time I was there, they were filming the JFK.
Okay.
And I was meeting with the record company. That's the only thing that kind of, I heard a different view of what they thought of JFK from the girls in the record company, and I thought, whoa, okay,
Right.
not going there,
Yeah.
but they were filming that scene, But I don't know, I just got a great affection for the place. I think if I could go back there without the sadness that it would bring back to me, because all the great times I had there were with Guy and doing it was always positive and doing. I mean, and these little children, he had 4 children in total, 2 little girls he had when he passed away. And I spent about going back and forth for the year after he had gone, just to be with the kids and to let them find someone that they could think was an idiot, and put stickers on and things like that.
Right.
It's what it is, So
Right.
So I have a lot of feelings, and if I'm not sure if it wouldn't upset me more to go back than to
go back, right?
Remember.
It bring back all those memories. Yeah, it might. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, he passed in what, 2009, was it? 2009?
Yes, you got it exactly right.
Okay. Had he been ill for a while, or what?
Well, he had. I don't know the exact details. There are several things suggested, several things, rumored. Everything you can say. A couple of things I can say is that in all the time I knew him, I never knew him to take drugs. I never knew that, that was he was never in front of me. If he did, I can't say what he did, but never in front of me. He knew what I was like. I'll give you an example. One day when we were in London, he said, "Oh, while you're at the bar, okay, we're in a pub, can you buy me some cigarettes?" I said, "No, I'm not going to buy you anything that's going to hurt you, harm you. Why? That's not me." So I've always been, a bit of a wimp, really. Yeah, a bit of a wimp. So it's
straight-laced.
Yeah, but hopefully not in the terms that affects my approach with musicians or working with musicians. I just have my own sort of principles, and when I was a kid and the LSD thing came, my imagination is such that I would have ended up killing myself.
Oh, okay.
Very, very well at that. I was with a lot of older people, and if they could do something, I'm going to try a bit more just to show off. I was basically in my teens. I was an idiot, and believe me, nothing has changed.
Right. Well, we'll talk a little bit about Loneliness Never Lasts.
Well, Loneliness Never Lasts in the movies without giving the whole thing away.
Okay. Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, because this will go live, or to someone, and
right.
It's essentially about a girl that wants to find true love. Okay, and whenever she is hurt or let down or disappointed, and I mean, there's one song I don't know if it's on that track. Let me think what it's called. Just give me 1 second to come back to me in a minute. Whenever she got hurt or was disappointed, she would go back to her apartment and she would put on an old black and white movie.
Okay. Right.
And it's like, if you listen to the lyrics, the orchestra arrives just in time. Whenever you see the Bogarts or the all of these things, it's always like, oh yeah, but there's love at the end. Are you with me? So that's what the song is about. So she's saying, why can't it be like in the movies? Why can't life be like this? And then it follows a whole sequence of events throughout the. It's a musical, okay, throughout that until the sort of culminating scene when the orchestra arrives just in time. It's like, but every time she would come home, she'd put on she put on the TV and there'd be an old black and white movie. She was obsessed with love. And if you ever watch the old black and white films, they have story and they have credibility. And
that's right.
Yeah, and when cars crash, they don't go 15 feet in the air. You
Yeah.
know, all you get is little forms to fill in. You know, it's kind of like,
yeah.
I love that sort of element, and it was a very romantic and things.
Yes. 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 Without, like you said, without sharing too much. Good.
Sorry,
Well,
sir?
no, I said without sharing too much about it. That's good. Yeah, you know, give that insight into the musical. Well, you were the editor for the 2003 book, The Birth of Toni and Guy.
Yes, sir. Well, I actually ghosted it because
Okay.
Guy was busy. But he said, you know, can you know, put, I mean, I had all the words from him, and we went out to Italy. I interviewed all the living relatives at the time, and we did this. He said, can you do it? So what I did, I put the book together. You've seen the book, or you haven't seen the book?
Yeah, I've seen it on your website. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I'm going to show you a copy of it.
Okay, okay. Show me a physical copy.
Yeah, something I've got here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the book.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's a big one. That's big.
Yeah, it's a big.
Yeah.
Big
Hold it. Yeah. Hold it. There we go. Hold it up. Yeah. A little bit. There we go. There. Yes. There we go. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That is.
It's a good book. You might find one on it's a pictorial driven book, so you might find one on. Oh, let's show you this piece if it's there.
Okay. Yeah. See, I like the pictures interspersed in there. I don't like the books where all the pictures are right in the middle.
Oh, look, that's their first ever store.
There we go.
That's their store on Clapham.
Oh, there it is. There's a picture. Okay. Wow. Look
You
at
got
that.
it.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Yeah.
I want to show you if I can find something else.
Oh, yeah, some nice photos in there.
Oh, it's good. Oh, look at this. No, that one. There
there we go. There we go.
I'm struggling to find now. This might be it. I'm a better musician than I am presenter. That was when we did Carnaby Street and all of that sort of thing.
Oh, okay. Look at those colors. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that was why it was. That was the old stores around, you know. And when the yes, it's a good book. You probably pick it up for threepence now, but it was good.
There we go. I like that. I like how it slides into that. Yeah.
Sorry?
I said I like that. Yeah.
I wish I could. I don't know. Anyway, I exported 100,000 to 10,000 to America. So you'll probably find one online somewhere.
Yeah. Well, that's something interesting too. You know, you were an interviewer. You talked to the relatives, like you said. You went around and talked to the relatives.
Yeah.
Well, your book To Excess and Back was published last year. Came out.
This one. There we go. That's Excess and Back.
Okay. Yes, and it's got a pretty racy cover. Yeah.
She's naughty girl.
She's naughty.
A friend of mine, a painter did that.
Oh, did they? Okay.
It's not a person, it's a painter.
Oh, actually painted it. Almost looks like a photograph. Yeah.
Oh, my friend Shatry painted this for me, and because I couldn't, unfortunately, all the pretty blonde girls in their 20s didn't want to do that shot for me, you know. No, so I got that. Well, basically, what it is, it's a girl. I like this book. It's I shouldn't say that, but it's about a. I don't know if I can use any references, but you imagine one of the most. This girl is the most famous singer in the world. Okay, most famous artist that's ever been, and she got cajoled, into marriage at the age of 18 by the boss of a record company. Sounds familiar? That sounds familiar. Yeah. So, but his company was funded by the mafia.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It is. It is. It is. And then
Sounds familiar.
she's in an abusive marriage.
Yeah.
Okay, and then in a studio, she meets an old flame that she used to play in a band with.
Oh,
So she's
okay.
in a loveless marriage, married to a member. Oh, she's being controlled by the mafia, not a part of the mafia. A soldier. Well, you don't call them soldier. I don't know what you call them. You're a member of the mafia. What do they call them? So
Mafioso.
yeah. No, he was a person that's being used.
Oh, okay.
Are you with me? And it gets it's got both music in it, or it would have if it got filmed. I'm trying to get film stills, It would have music in it, and unfortunately, a few people that upset certain authorities don't always end their lives the way they thought they would.
No.
So it's a thriller as well.
Okay.
So that one I quite like. This one is a how would you put this? Mrs. Song for Maria.
Song for Maria, yeah.
Now the thing about this book is that there's and I'm always reluctant with talking to people about it, to buy it. It's got some salacious sex in it, okay? Because when two young people, 18 and 20 years of age, get together, it's about exploration and all sorts of things. You've been young. You've been young. You know what I mean.
I was young one time. Yeah.
I only know this from memory. So, it's just a love song throughout, but unfortunately, or a love story throughout. From kids that are, he's in a band, he's a bit dysfunctional. It basically, the first 3 pages describes me perfectly. Okay, and she sort of brings him out of himself. Okay, but then they've fallen so deeply in love, you can't get a razor blade in between. But then a producer, I shouldn't give you too much away, a producer seduces her by saying that I'll ruin his career. He's producing the album. He says, I'm going to kick him out of the band. I'm going to do this. And she tries to protect him, and it goes the wrong way. I'm going to give you the next little bit. Then, so what I'm saying is that where people misread it is that if you see what they are doing to fall, and when they fall in love properly, obviously physically, okay, that to me is a natural sort of thing, okay?
Yeah.
What the producer does is not natural. Yeah. So I see that as the abuse and the nasty bit, not that bit, So anyway, right. To clarify the story, when she realizes what she's done, because she says, "All right, I'll see you again next week," and then she jumps in the car, speeds out away from his home, into a lorry, into a truck. Are you with me?
Yes.
And the rest you have to read.
Yeah, you have to get the
but there's all sorts of the twists and turns from then on. Is if I hadn't written it, I would have, and I'm still reading it again actually. So it's what people make of it. I'm trying to get film deals for, so all those film producers, tell them there's 2 books out.
Yeah, I will. All 0 of them. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Well. Do you enjoy writing as opposed to music? How does that?
No, it's not that. It's that they're an equal passion, I would say. Yeah. But let me explain how a lot of this came about.
Yeah.
I was in a pretty good position in the industry when I went over a year undiagnosed diabetic.
Okay.
And I developed neuropathy in the legs and all sorts of things, and I ended up in hospital. I was in hospital for a couple of weeks, and when I came out, I could hardly walk again. I was not in good shape, Okay. And so after that, and in fact, for 1 year, I couldn't play because the pain in my fingers was so bad.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Wow.
because what happens is the nerves seem to go dead. And when you
Yeah.
start to play again, you know, when you came in from the snow, have you ever had snow in Dallas?
Oh, yes. I know that
Okay.
feeling. Yes,
And,
yes.
and you can start to warm up again. It hurts.
Yes,
It's
yes.
like that.
It's
Okay.
like that. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what happened is, in order to stay kind of sane, I buried myself in writing, and I just all the things that I could do that didn't require me running around the country with a band or anything like that, because that was basically my first love. I want to be in a band. When you get so old, well, no, I wasn't that old, but if you're not a known name like Clapton or the Beatles or something, by the time you're mid-20s, just think about how you're going to live your life. And my view is, find areas that you can work in that are of use to people, and that you can make a living, and pursue what you want to do in the hope of something coming along. So that's basically how I got into writing. Not really. I'd written things before. I'd written songs from childhood and things like that. It's not that. But it's a whole different concept when you're writing a book, because the element of writing to me is to involve the reader.
Yes.
If the reader isn't like, what's happening?
Yeah.
I hate these books. As I wrote the Toni and Guy book, a lot of books say, and then we did this, and then we did that, and then we did this, and we're so clever. No,
Yeah.
that isn't about that.
Yeah,
This is about the hard times and the rough times and what you go through.
Yes.
When you live on tips for 25 years, as I watched them do, that's when you see people's determination.
I do thank you, David, for doing this.
I thank you in turn, sir. I'm indebted. So,
Well,
it's a privilege to be asked.
yes,
So I appreciate that. And I hope that what I've managed to share is not every detail of my life, but what I've managed to share, I hope has been helpful towards building your catalogue.
Yes, it has. I assure you it has. And you'll see once I get this edited a little bit, probably next week, I'll send you the edited copy. And then and then you can post it wherever you'd like, on your social media, wherever you'd like to, on your website. And then that way draws in more people, share it with more people, and it gets a lot more traction that way. It'll also be on my channel, so that way we can get more exposure out there for us. So
And all strength to you, pal.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Back to you, David, and all the best to you. All right.
Yeah,
and
we will speak again, I'm certain.
Yes, we will.
And I will bring people along that I think more talented and more interesting. And
hey, that always helps. Anybody that you can refer, anyone that's and you can tell them that I'm not the boogeyman. They don't need to be afraid of me. Okay.
So you're the best person to have interviewed me.
Okay. Well,
I'm good at building people up. I've managed a lot of bands.
Okay. Well, that
Take
would
care.
help.
God bless.
All right. All the best to you.